Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts. Welcome back to The World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how's your week been, Kirsty?
It's been such a good one. I just booked a dream holiday to Italy and Spain. God. Oh my God, I know, I'm so excited.
Excited.
We're going to Rome and Sardinia Island and Barcelona. So for the next 3 months, you're going to get sick of hearing about my day-to-day planning, Belle.
No, I love travel planning. Isn't that half the fun?
I know, I do too. I love travel planning. But anyway, before that trip, I have got a few others coming up. So I'm actually going on a writing retreat shortly at Varuna in Sydney's Blue Mountains, which is the foremost institution for literature development in Australia. So I feel really privileged to have a residency there, and that means I can work solely on my crime manuscript that I had mentioned once before. Holding myself to account here. And also I'm on assignment. I'm doing the Akbar Walk in South Australia for a Story for Vacations and Travel magazine, and I'm also heading up to the Sunshine Coast.
Well, it's not a competition, but it has... I do have some exciting travel plans underway too. I'm back in the Middle East in a few months, heading to the quiet little country, or not so little, the quiet country that is Oman. It's a bit of a sleeper hit, so make sure you subscribe so you can hear all of our tips and advice from the places that we go over the course of the year.
Amazing. And exciting news this week for Australian travellers. Well, actually last week. That's the 1st of March for those who are listening at a later date to this. One of the world's largest airlines, Turkish Airlines, has launched its inaugural flights from Melbourne to Istanbul.
I'm so excited about this. It's adding more than 100,000 seats to Melbourne each year. And it's such an exciting time because it's actually the first time the historic European, or depending on which side of the Bosphorus you're standing on, city is linked directly to Australia. It's not a short trip. The flight from Istanbul to Melbourne is 19 hours, 10 minutes, and nearly 21 hours in the opposite direction. And you also have a 1.5-hour refuelling stop in Singapore. So they boot you out of the aircraft, give it a quick clean, and chuck some more petrol in the tank. But it is so worth it. Istanbul is one of my favourite cities. I've left a chunk of my heart there. And the airline is absolutely fantastic. And it constantly wins awards for its food, even in economy, which I can vouch for. So if you are in the mood for a little more Turkish delight, see what I did there, you can actually grab a copy of this Saturday's Sydney Morning Herald or The Age, and I have a story about Turkey in it, and I will put a link in the show notes for those who are playing along at a later date.
Yes, great. Right, well, moving on this week, and Australian-based All Clear Travel Insurance has released the world's most luxurious airports. Love a good airport. We spend so much time waiting around. Why not try and plan your trip around a good airport if you can?
Yeah, I agree. I think airports really are the portal to the country. So All Clear analysed more than 1,800 airports before whittling them down to a short list of 69 based on how many had good selection of passenger lounges, designer shops and 4- and 5-star hotels nearby. And the winner was Dubai International Airport, which has its own 5-star hotel inside the airport, as well as Zen Gardens, an outdoor swimming pool, a gym, cinemas, and loads of great restaurants.
I'm going to be there in June. Oh my God, Belle, it's started already. We haven't even got through the first. So I will report back on that. And second place went to Heathrow Airport in London because of the number of lounges that you can choose from. And it also has most of the world's luxury shopping brands on site.
Yeah, I went through there last Easter, and I do love that you can pick up a bag of Harrods tea on the way back through. But you can also do that at Hamad International Airport in Qatar, which came in third place. The airport alone is reportedly about a third of the size of Doha, the city in which it's located. And it's so beautiful. The roof is shaped like a wave, like the ocean or a sand dune. But it is, needless to say, an achingly expensive port to grab a bite in. Charles de Gaulle came in number 4, and I've got a quick trivia hit for you. Did you know, Kirsty, that you two recorded Beautiful Day at that airport?
I did not know that.
Oh, there you go. And look, I'm going to be a bit of a downer here as well, because Charles de Gaulle may be luxurious, and the reason it rated so highly is because of the huge number of luxury shops, from Louis Vuitton, Laurent and Bulgari. But shiny things do not make an airport work. It is enormous and notorious for its queues.
Back on home ground, and fifth place went to Sydney International Airport, which, as most of our listeners would actually know, has an incredible new luxury precinct called SydX, with 20 of the most desirable brands like Cartier, Rolex and Armani. And that was followed by Singapore's Changi Airport, which is usually at the top of best airport lists, actually. I adore Changi. My God, that 40-metre waterfall that cascades from the roof, you just can't miss anywhere you go. And also it has a butterfly garden with more than 1,000 butterflies. Who would expect an airport to have a butterfly garden?
I mean, you could holiday in Singapore almost without leaving the airport. I do have to note that to get to the Jewel Shopping Centre, you do need to clear customs, so that's always one to remember. Others in the top 10 are in Bangkok, Hong Kong International, Frankfurt, and rounding out the top 10, Narita International Airport in Japan. And we'll put a list in the show notes so you can see why they're rated so highly.
You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
This week, my guest is none other than the incredibly charming Kevin Moloney, one of the stars of Channel 9's Travel Guides show. He appears on the show with his wife Janetta Stones, and they are the snobby travellers. But it's all just a front. Yes, they do like the finer things, but stay tuned as the former travel journalist and ghostwriter, now one of the stars of Channel 9's show, gives us a peek behind the curtains of the TV programme, which has seen the two of them travelling all over the world, and I mean all over the world. Kevin, welcome to The World Awaits. We're so delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Belinda. It's great to talk to you too.
You know, the last time we met in person, which was by pure chance, was in the jungles of deepest, darkest Borneo, where you team were having a cold drink after filming, and I think you were being chased by orangutans in Sarawak, weren't you?
That was really quite bizarre. I mean, the fact that the jungle drums literally were beating, that travel guides were in town, and you found out through, I don't know what channel, but there was obviously something going on with the jungle drums, because you connected, and we ended up having a drink at the hotel that we were staying in. But that day, we had this close encounter with orangutans, and just unbelievable experience.
Well, I'm going to backtrack for a second, because taking you out of Malaysian Borneo, you're actually Melbourne born and bred. You grew up here in Melbourne's east. You and your wife Jet have been in the travel industry most of your lives. How did you go from travel journalist and ghostwriter, as well as restaurant critic and author, to the stars of a TV show that absolutely busts the ratings each week? How did you become a travel guide?
Well, it's an interesting story. We were driving back from some friend's place down in Dunkeld, and Jet had said that she saw an ad on Channel 9 on TV for this new travel show. And it said, if you can afford to take 3 months off and you enjoy traveling, put your hand up. So I said, look, what would they want with old people like us? Seriously? It's going to be something like Getaway or some sort of travel show that will be far-fetched. We had no idea what it was, not a clue. Anyway, Jet said, well, I'm going to apply. And I said, well, good luck with it. Have a nice time. So she did, and she got to a certain stage in the application and had to involve me by putting down certain details and sending off the application to Channel 9. And then we just went through a process of interviews and screen tests and police checks and psych tests and all sorts of tests. And they finally came back and said, would you like this gig? And what could you say? I mean, we're diehard travel addicts. So I think it's probably wise when you do have an addiction to get somebody else to pay for your habit.
And the funny thing was, I mean, you say that you don't feel that you had a niche in it, but each of the team of the travel guides has its own brand, its own niche. You know, there's the three best mates who seem to just suck up adrenaline. There's the family, the no filter family. The outback kind of country. The country guys. You guys are the travel snobs. 5-star hotels, cocktails in high places, a certain refinement. Is that really the way you and Jet have always travelled?
Yes, in a word, it is. We always aspire to the luxury end of travel. There's an absolute abhorrence on our part to anything that starts with C, camping, caravans, cabins, cask wine, children, all the C words we avoid. So it doesn't always happen that you get what you want when you're traveling, particularly when you're in the hands of somebody like the production team of Travel Guides, because as you can imagine, the whole thing about Travel Guides is the differences between the groups and how we perceive travel. And what one group will like, the others won't like. So, and that's in there lies the magic of the show. So, as I say, you don't always get business class travel. You don't always get a 5-star hotel. But when you do, we really savour it. We love it. That's the sort of travel that we like. Because we're a bit older. And, when you are a bit older, you aspire to a bit more luxury and a bit more comfort.
Oh, absolutely. So how does it work? I mean, for those who might not have seen Travel Guides, it's now in its 6th season. You have spent years traveling the world. One day you'll be in Finland, the next day you'll be in Nova Scotia, the day after that, you'll be in Bangkok. How does it work? Do you get a ticket to your destination and scripts, and then you have to, and then so you know what's going on, or is it a complete surprise?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. People don't often know that we don't know where we're going until we get to the airport. So we can rock up to Sydney Airport or Melbourne Airport and find out that we're going to Amsterdam or Adelaide.
When do you find that out?
Wagga. Pardon?
When do you find that out?
When we get to the airport.
So
when we arrive there, they say, okay, you're off to New York now. Oh, okay. So all we've been given up until then is a packing list that will say, okay, you need 5 smart casual outfits, 2 resort outfits, a dinner outfit, a couple of active wear, blah, 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 and a temperature guide. So they'll say the temperature is going to be between 25 and 32. That's all we get. So both of us, having come out of the travel industry, this is an absolute throw down the gauntlet to us. So we are travel detectives from that moment on. We're going to be checking every flight that goes out of Sydney Airport between 7 o'clock in the morning and midday. We're going to check all sorts of things to give us clues as to where we go. Because our biggest quest at this stage is to guess before we get to the airport.
So it's become an absolute game for the two of you.
Oh, totally.
Okay. So what is your success rate on that game?
Well, it's been pretty good. It's around about 95%. But in the first, we've got a couple of things that we ask that will hint towards where we're going. Like, Janetta's got all these hair appliances, rollers and curlers and stuff, and needs to know the voltage of the country we're going to. So, do you take 110 appliances or do you take 220 appliances? And so we ask you, what's the voltage? And that will eliminate certain countries. We might ask, okay, are there any cultural sensitivities as far as dress code goes? Like if it's if it's a Muslim country, do we have to dress appropriately? Or are there any religious or cultural sensitivities that we need to address? That will rule out some countries as well. Then we look at the temperature range and we do a little bit further digging. Quite often we snag it and yep, exactly, that's where we're going. We're off to Hong Kong. But on I think it was first series, we were only given certain information, the temperature range, and I was absolutely convinced we were going to the Atacama Desert in South America, and we ended up in Queenstown. So we were way off the mark there.
That is quite a significant swivel. But, you were young and that was back in the days, really, wasn't it? Right at the beginning. So we didn't know the tricks of the trade in trying to work out the destination then. We've got better at it. So do you tell the others in the team where you think you're going, or do you keep it to yourselves? No, because the element of surprise is what makes the show. Now, not only do we not know where we're going, when we get there, we don't know what we're doing until we're doing it.
We don't know we're jumping out of a plane until we're jumping out of a plane. Or climbing a mountain. We've got no idea what we're doing until we actually do it.
It's almost like, in a way, and I think particularly for you guys, because you do have a certain style of travel, that you're basically almost set up to fail. Like, I've seen your kilt fall off while you were dancing in Scotland.
Yes.
There was that fairly spectacular toilet-themed restaurant in Taipei, which just basically had poo burgers and stuff, which is horrific.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. But on the other hand, some of the other groups will be very uncomfortable having a 13-course degustation meal at Vue de Monde in Melbourne. We were right at home there. And there's the beauty of the show. It's that juxtaposition between the likes of one group and the likes of another group.
Right. So let's get into a best and worst. What are some of your top experiences on this, the things that will stay with you forever that you might not have been able to do otherwise?
Well, we've always been cruise junkies. We love cruising, and it's one of the best holidays that we could possibly dream of. And we've done probably somewhere around 30 cruises in our life. And I've always wanted to do a European cruise down the rivers. And we hadn't done it. I don't know why, but the opportunity never came up. But on Travel Guides, they sent us from Nuremberg down to Budapest on APT River Cruise. Absolutely sensational. I mean, that was magic for me. And probably I would say that was my favourite episode out of the 65 that were filmed. I loved it.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely beautiful. And then on the flip side, some of the worst experiences, maybe excluding the, eating the poo in Taipei and dancing in Scotland.
Yeah, well, the Scotland thing, that was funny. I said to Janetta, look, you're probably very happy that I'm not comfortable in wearing a skirt, and I don't have a lot of experience in wearing a skirt. And I didn't realise that a kilt you had to wear around your waist rather than your hips. Hence, it fell. And there was a bit of an ignominious end to a Highland fling session in Scotland. But look, that wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing, probably eating tarantulas in Cambodia.
Oh,
yeah, deep fried crumbed. No, they weren't crumbed. They was deep fried tarantulas. And when you get to the centre, it's pretty gross.
And what? Okay, so did they taste like chicken?
No, they tasted like rubber bands. And velvet coated rubber bands with the legs, and then you get into, I don't want to even describe the centre of it.
Go on, give us a go.
The abdomen.
No, really?
No. Well, think of a savoury custard, yellow goo.
Okay, stop. Right.
Yeah, enough.
Enough.
Yeah.
I'm feeling sorry for our podcast listeners now. So that is one of the experiences you will genuinely never wish to repeat.
Absolutely. I don't need to eat arachnoids.
All right. So with your vast experience and having also experienced the flip side now, I think you have camped and you've broken all of those C word rules that you set for yourself.
Yes.
Can you share any tips on how we can elevate our budget experience up to something that's a little more luxurious? I'm looking for some travel hacks on, making our lives easier when we travel.
Well, absolutely. And it all gets around luggage because, as you know, we're away for 4 months. So it is a cliche, but we're living out of a suitcase for 4 months. And hotel rooms are designed for a certain type of suitcase. Yet most suitcases that people carry don't fit that profile. The clam shell where they have the center seam and got 2 halves of a suitcase.
Yeah.
We will not use those. A, because they take up twice the amount of hotel real estate in your room, and the luggage racks are not designed to accommodate them, and they just take up way too much room. So that's our first hack. Top opening suitcases are so much better.
You mean ones that have a lid, like you'll unzip the lid?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why are luggage racks not suited to, like, everybody carries the clown shape. I mean,
I know.
everybody defines them. All the new luggage, I'm a bit of a luggage aficionado. But I have the same. So I'm with you. I have the same experience. Why have they not changed?
I don't know.
Called out to hotel designers, or should we just change the way that we travel?
Well, most hotels also will only cater for one suitcase. When we travel, we've got up to 4.
Yeah.
So we have to absolutely maximize the room and the available space in the hotel room. So that's why we will only ever travel with top opening cases rather than the clamshell style. But my biggest tip, and this is the one that I love, is I have what I call the bag of everything inside the suitcase. Now, this bag of everything just happens to be a mesh bag that I think you wash hosiery or smalls in the washing machine so they don't get lost. And so it's about, 40 centimetres long by 20 centimetres deep, and it's a soft fabric mesh. And I throw everything in that bag, like we travel with a little emergency kit, all the little things that get lost in your suitcase. And you then have to go and find, now, where did I put the sunscreen? Where did I put the whatever? It's all in the bag of everything. That's the only thing you have to go to. And it finds its own level in the suitcase.
I love it. Okay, thank you. I had not thought of those mesh bags. And I have been, people make a lot of money out of making, travel bags made out of mesh. So thanks for that hot tip on that one.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Tips on elevating your budget travel experience. If you've only got a certain budget,
Absolutely.
how do you lift it up to the next level so that you can swish, so you get that swish in your travel?
Okay, the biggest tip is airport upgrades. When you're checking in, ask them, are there any seats in premium economy or business class? And you pay for it, but the airport upgrade is usually about a quarter to a half the price of a standard upgrade. If you wanted to buy a business class ticket, the business class ticket might cost you $5,000, where economy might cost you $2,000. If you have paid your $2,000 for economy and you get to the airport and there happen to be some business class seats, they may be selling those seats at $500 extra.
So the hack is to ask
when you're checking in, are there purchasable air upgrades available?
Do you think that that's possible? I mean, the flights are so crowded at the moment.
We've done it several times.
Really? I'm about to say, what's your success rate on this?
Oh, lots. Sometimes we're traveling business class and sometimes we're traveling economy. And if we are traveling economy, we'll either use points or dollars to upgrade if we can. And on several airlines, it's always available, not always, but usually available that there are seats spare in the next class up that you can buy.
Now,
it's a lot cheaper than,
But this is interesting because I have heard Jet say before, save on the airfare, suck it up on the airfare, splurge it on the accommodation.
Exactly, yeah.
Which
we have a slightly Well, we love good accommodation. So if we're buying our own holiday, we would do that exactly. We would buy probably an economy fare or a premium economy fare and spend more on accommodation because we like to have a little bit of comfort when we're away. There's nothing worse than going back to your hotel room after a really busy day of traveling and it's just not comfortable. So, we often spend time in the hotel room too. And a friend of ours once said, when you start getting on a little bit and you don't want to push the pace of travel too hard, when you're on your own holiday, just do one thing a day and do it well, rather than racing around and burning yourself out and then coming home and just collapsing. So he said, like if you're in Rome, go to the Colosseum, just do the Colosseum that day and then come home. And it was a good tip. It was a good tip.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think accommodation is, I suppose that's why Kentucky tours are aimed at the 18 to 35s, right? Because you do that when you're a kid and you just belt through the 9 countries in 9 days. But then hopefully you have the chance to go back later in your life and savor those moments and look back at the crazy things that you did when you were in that city, 20 or 30.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, when you are young, you're 18, 19, 20, you're probably drunk the whole time anyway. And you don't really know what room you were in or whose room you were in.
Or which tent you were in too, because some of you that were camping to us, which you would never
Precisely.
camp. Yeah.
Precisely. So that's why, later in life accommodation is a lot more important than it is in the younger travelling life.
I think that's very true. And also I find and I travel alone quite a lot too, that when you're a woman alone, it's sensible to invest in something that's safe as well. So if you've had a dodgy day, you can go back to the hotel and you know that this is a place that you're going to be secure. I think that's really important too.
Sanctuary.
Absolutely. It's a sanctuary, and hotel rooms were predominantly built to be enjoyed. I love a good hotel room, and I think you do too.
I do. And that's where sometimes when a hotel has been refurbished, they'll refurbish the public areas. And when I go in and see a hotel where the foyer is very smicko and beautiful and the gardens are all lovely, then you get to the room and it hasn't been refurbished. And it's a great disappointment because the hotel room, the primary reason you stay in a hotel is to sleep. That's your primary reason. Like the primary reason you go to a restaurant is to eat. The primary reason you get on an aeroplane is to fly. Everything else is secondary. So for me, the hotel room has to be right. And we've got this checklist that we go through that, we look at the lighting, we look at the available space for baggage, we look at the configuration of the room, the view, the cleanliness, the linen, everything. I mean, I could be the hotel inspector, seriously, but the way we have a look at a hotel when we first walk in.
I think you've been in enough hotels that you're qualified for it. Absolutely. Is there anything left on the bucket list? Somewhere you've never managed to get to but always wish to visit or experience?
We're actually coming up to season 9 this year. This year will be season 9. I know, it's ridiculous. Where would I like to go? I still would like to go to Iceland. And I have Irish heritage, although, I'm probably about as Irish as Vegemite. But Janetta's never been to Ireland either. So I'd love for us to go to Ireland together. It's such a fun place.
No,
it's a ridiculously fun place.
It's so good. I have a fair chunk of Irish heritage, so I love it, and lived there. I cannot recommend it highly enough. The show is incredibly successful. There's huge audiences here in Australia. Do you ever get mobbed, in strange places? Do people recognise you?
They do. Well, the show's shown in a lot of countries around the world now. And of course, Australians are such great travellers that everywhere we go, there are fellow Australian travellers around and they recognise us. They recognise everybody in the cast. And in some places, like New Zealand, for example, when we were filming over there, we were absolutely mobbed by people. They were lining up wanting selfies.
No.
At our stage of life, it's just pretty incredible. Just to think that people will want to have photos with us because we're on TV. It's a concept that was initially foreign. But look, we love it. We love being recognised, and it's a bit of fun. We're working in an industry which is very up. It's a very positive thing. People want to tell us about their travel stories, or they want to get tips on travelling, or say, look, we booked our holidays based on what you said in Travel Guides. Or and they do. People absolutely book their holidays based on our scoring. So it's quite amazing. And, we get videos sent to us from people around the world saying chin chin and touching their chin and having a drink. And it's really quite amazing. It really is.
Chin chin is your signature really now, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And when is the next episode going to air? And can you tell us where you're going to go on this time? Are you allowed to tell us?
No, I'm not, because we don't. As you know, we don't know where we're going, so I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise for anyone else. But there's some pretty amazing destinations on several continents. A couple in Australia. On every season, there are always 2 episodes in Australia. And I'll tell you, one of them, we were towing a caravan. Not happy. I mean, I'd never towed anything in my life, really. There's one scene which is really quite funny, where I'm trying to back this caravan. And, of course, if you're trying to back a caravan into a parking spot in what do you call them? Camping ground, caravan park, whatever, and you've got no idea how to do it, it can be very intimidating. So,
and then you're filming it, and then
you've got camera crew on you as well. Yeah. So I said to Chet, go and ask that bloke over there if he knows how to back a camera. Sling him 20 and get him to do it. Knows how to back a caravan. Sling him $20 and he can back it for us. We did, and he did, and we were happy. Well, we weren't happy, but we were complete.
That sounds fantastic. Just one quick one, because when you're recording but almost back to back, aren't you? I mean, you start in August, you're filming up until the end of the year, really, aren't you? Are you away the whole time?
Well, you go away, you come back, you go away, you come back. And sometimes you might be home for 2 days, sometimes you might be home for 4 days. And you might have come home from, say, Europe, and then you're heading off in the opposite direction to maybe South America or wherever. So you're never, for that 4 months, you're never really in the right time zone. So if you want to have dinner at 3 o'clock in the morning, do. And if you want to go to bed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, do. There's no point in trying to live a normal time zone lifestyle because it just won't work.
The final question, which is the question we ask all our guests, is what is your most bizarre travel experience? So I reckon you've got a few.
Oh, look, I don't know whether it was the most bizarre, but certainly the most terrifying, which probably goes into the realm of bizarre. With Travel Guides, we do some pretty weird things like abseiling down Cradle Mountain in Cape Town or jumping out of aeroplanes in Noosa or eating the tarantulas in Cambodia and ziplining over volcanoes. And a lot of them are adrenaline stuff and, to put the fear of God into you, and they do. But the most scary experience we have ever had was right here in Melbourne.
Really?
We filmed an episode in Melbourne, and as I said before, we don't know what we're doing until we do it. So the activity for the day is not revealed until we're at the door of whatever the establishment is we're visiting. And so we turn up to this pub in South Melbourne called the Rubber Chicken, and then discover that this is a stand-up comedy venue. And we are going to be the stand-up comedians writing our own material, delivering a presentation of stand-up comedy to a live audience the next day. Now, I don't know whether you've ever done stand-up comedy, Belle, but it is terrifying.
No, never. Never want to.
It's one thing to stand up in front of a group and talk about your chosen topic that you had some knowledge on, but when you're trying to be funny for the sake of being funny in a professional sense, it is terrifying. The fear of failure is so palpable. Anyway, the following night we roll up there and we've paced the floor all the previous night, trying to work out what are we going to say? What's funny? What's not funny? Will I die on stage? Will people throw rotten tomatoes at me? How bad is it going to be? Will I be able to show my face in public again? Anyway, we get up there and a couple of glasses of wine beforehand, of course, mandatory, and deliver the presentation or the performance. Didn't die, didn't get any tomatoes, got some laughs, and it was the blow-away experience. But all fears, as soon as you walk off the stage, all your fears that have crippled you for the last 24 hours just disappear once you've done what you've had to do. But it was terrifying, I've got to tell you.
Oh, it sounds magnificent. It sounds absolutely terrifying. Well, at least nobody threw anything, I mean, tomatoes or knickers or anything at you. So
No, neither.
Kevin, it's been an absolute
Well, it
joy.
was interesting. It's interesting you mentioned knickers because my joke was one of the jokes was my whole thing was based on how old am I? I'm so old, and I said, you get really annoyed when you get to a certain age and people don't ask for identification. No one ever asked for identification when I was a youngster, going into pubs illegally, and no one asked me for identification now. I went to the movies the other night and asked for 2 seniors, please, and she handed over 2 tickets to me, 2 seniors tickets. I said, don't you want to look at my seniors card? And she said, sir, you're wearing your Depends on the outside of your pants. That got me a laugh. And I was really happy with that.
All right. I think that age has not worried you in the slightest. Congratulations on such a great gig with Travel Guides. It's been great to just pull the velvet curtain back a little and take a look into how you got there and the experiences you've had. Can't wait to see what you're up for this next season and where I'm going to run into you next. So,
well, let's hope it's in some far-flung place around the world.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be raising a glass again. So, Kevin, thank you for joining us on The World Awaits. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Belle. Bye-bye.
It's so great to hear about what really goes on when you're filming a travel show for TV, and I'm not surprised that between them, Kevin and Jet have a 95% success rate for guessing where they're headed next. Such travel pros. And if you'd like more from Kevin, you can always read his memoir, The Last Australian Childhood, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Our tip this week comes from CNN news anchor Richard Quest, who we both saw speaking in person at the Trav Media Summit in Sydney recently. Richard, who has literally been everywhere, says that the key to getting a great airline experience, regardless of which class you're booked into, is status.
Yes, and this is one for the ad geeks among us, but something we should all learn about. So Richard says, fly with who you have status with, simply because they will treat you better, and stay with us, people, because there is a method to our madness of what we're saying here.
So status is different to frequent flyer points, and amongst point watchers, harder to accrue, as you usually have to get yourself on the actual plane to earn status points, rather than just thrashing the Flybuys card at the supermarket. But this is what sends you climbing through the ranks of the loyalty programs.
And of course, the higher you go from basic to sparkly gold class, the more benefits you get. So whether it's more luggage, getting into the lounge, and being able to successfully upgrade.
But having decent status points means that if you are asking for an upgrade, you've got a better chance than somebody whose loyalty lies with a different airline. And the key thing is that not all flights earn status points. So, if you get the really cheap, if you get a really cheap one with, one of the major carriers, you might find that you might get frequent flyer points, but you might not get status points.
So how do you know what your status points are?
Well, have a look at your frequent flyer statement, and you'll see your frequent flyer points there, or your flyer points, but you're also your status points. So, and the two don't necessarily correlate because you earn them at different rates. So, like you might have 250,000 Qantas points, which I do have, but I'm still slumming it in the basic and the lowest class because I haven't flown Qantas since I got stranded and bounced off a flight in Dubai after COVID. So that is the difference on it. You might have a bucket load of points, but you don't have the status points. So you can have all of those frequent flyer points, but you don't have the class, right? So apparently I've got no class. Anyway,
you're all class. You're all class, Belle. You're all class.
I know. I keep telling myself that. We are going to dig into this one in the coming episodes because I really want to know how to hack gold class. So stay tuned because we're going to bring an expert on to talk about it.
You're listening to The World Awaits. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform.
Next week, we're talking Indigenous tourism with one of the places in the world that does it best, New Zealand. Andrew Waddell talks about the best ways to experience Māori culture and how you can ensure you're doing the right thing by the tangata whenua.
Well, that sounds amazing because I've got to say I'm really in the dark about Maori traditions and cultures, not to mention pronunciation. So I'll definitely be tuning in for that one.
And if you would like to help support our production costs, you can buy us a coffee at coffee.com/theworldawaits. That's ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, so we can continue to bring you inspirational travel interviews with the world's best.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Writes on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Writes, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.